Okay, so this week, my content is all going to be centered around how to find an idea. And if you don't have an idea for bootstrapping a startup, one great approach that I like is to target a niche of an enterprise product. And what do I mean by that? Well, first, you want to identify a successful enterprise product. For this example, let's go with Salesforce.com. And one thing I will say is Salesforce.com is not actually that ancient. So you may want to consider targeting something that's very old, that has a horrible user interface, a horrible experience of using, something that people hate using. And then what you're going to want to do is once you've identified your enterprise software that's very successful and it's making a lot of money, niche down. So what that means is I identify another target customer group, a subgroup of the primary users of Salesforce.com. So an example, and it's a bad example in some ways, right? I don't think that dentists are going to use a CRM, but it's still an example. So say you target dentists. What you could do is build a CRM specifically targeted at dentists. Now, of course, you're going to want to validate the idea first. And in order to validate the idea, I, of course, recommend the MOM test, interviewing potential customers. That's what you have to do. And you can look at some of my prior content to get more information about that. Or honestly, just read the MOM test. It's a short read. I was talking about it the other day and you'll love it. But let me explain to you why this is so powerful and why you can actually succeed doing this as a small bootstrapped company or even perhaps as a solopreneur. So, and a lot of people don't believe me on this, but if you've never worked in enterprise software, especially enterprise product teams, you won't realize this perhaps, but you can move faster as a small team, especially in the direction that a certain niche, like for a dentist niche, you can move so much faster than 90% of enterprise teams. And there's multiple reasons for this. For one thing, enterprise software teams, they are all about scaling an existing product idea, right? Salesforce does not care about our niche, whatever that niche is. With my horrible example, dentist, do you think Salesforce cares about the small dental CRM market? They don't care. They have to target a market with a huge TAM, a huge total addressable market, basically, something that makes sense for them to target. Okay. And so because of that, for one thing, they don't care, right? Also, there's something that happens whenever you start trying to scale an existing software product. It gets harder and harder to make changes and go into different directions and even to interview your customers. Interviewing your customers at scale for an enterprise product is one of the most difficult things to do. It's very, very difficult to scale, especially when your individual product teams can't talk to the individual customers, but that's a whole other thing. I'm not going to start ranting about that. So that's why you can move so much faster than these enterprise teams in almost all cases. And like I said, a lot of bootstrappers don't believe me, but it's absolutely true. Talk to a friend of yours that works for an enterprise software team, and he will tell you that that's exactly how that is. Now, the other way you can succeed and kind of outpace or outperform, out-execute these enterprise products is with amazing customer service. So customer service is a key differentiator, right? It's a massive differentiator. And people don't realize, I think subconsciously they do, but consciously people don't realize how large of a differentiator that is. Think about, if you're an Apple fan, think about why you go with Apple. For one thing, maybe you like the products, maybe you like the user interface, the ease of use, maybe you like the fact that it often just works, but also a huge thing that I'm sure you love is the fact that you can walk into any Apple store and just get it fixed, right? That's so powerful. And all of us have had times with Apple where we walk in and, they, instead of just fixing it because it's more expensive to fix, they just give you a new product. So yeah, never doubt how much of a value add amazing customer service is. That is one of your biggest advantages as a small team or as a bootstrapper. So definitely take advantage of that. Now, finally, one thing I've added, if you noticed, I quickly added this while I paused the video. The most important thing and your largest advantage is that you can add specific features that are incredibly relevant to your niche. as just a bad example with our dental example. You could add AI features that explain certain dental concepts. Obviously, that's a bad example, but you understand what I'm getting at. You can add features that are incredibly relevant to your niche that will literally make them leave that enterprise product and jump onto your product. Also, another thing that I'm just realizing now that I did not add to this, let me pause and add. Now, another advantage you have is that you can naturally be cheaper in many cases than a large enterprise product. Now, I don't love, taking that approach in some ways. You want to price your product so that it makes sense for you to pursue it. And you could even try a strategy actually where you're more expensive. We've actually had Stammer customers tell us that they value the fact that we do one thing, we focus on it, and we focus on it well, and we provide amazing customer service, and we're always available. So they actually don't mind for this, paying a premium in many cases. They've literally told us that in office hours. But yeah, you can be cheaper, you can even be more expensive, but that pricing is an option, right? And that is an advantage you can take on. Now, what I would do is I would tend to start off cheaper earlier on in the product life cycle. And then as you start to reach one of the phases of product market fit, and remember, product market fit is a scale, right? It's not some state you just reach. It's not a 0 or 1 where you just reach product market fit and bam, it's more of a scale, a certain scale of product market fit. Notifier reached it at one point with some marketing we were doing, and then we started focusing on other things. But yeah, that is an advantage. Target SMBs. Now, this in general is an approach that I love for bootstrappers and small teams to kind of take. So if you target an enterprise market, the sales cycle is incredibly long there, and supporting enterprise customers will absolutely kill you. You can get into situations quite easily, even with enterprise product teams, where you have one customer that is 75% of your revenue. And then the next thing you know, you're literally building custom software for that enterprise customer. And further, like I just alluded to, the sales cycle takes forever. It can take 2 years to close an enterprise deal. And they often don't purchase in the same ways that SMBs do. An enterprise company is not going to pay with a credit card. They're going to send you a purchase order. And you got to have a contract in place in many instances. It's a mess. It's a mess. So if you're a bootstrapper or a small team, you want to target SMBs. Now, if you're thinking, do SMBs have a lot of money? Oh, absolutely. That's 50% of the market estimated as far as the size of that market. And the interesting thing about SMBs, I've spent the past 5 or 6 years inadvertently or unknowingly originally interviewing SMBs because that's who kind of started signing up for Notifier. And SMBs are very interesting, right? They behave in some ways like an enterprise as far as they have no problem paying for software, right? They love it. They love paying for software. Many of them know, especially agencies, know the value of software and how you can literally build a business on good software. So they have money. But the other thing is their purchasing behavior is actually much more similar to a consumer. What do I mean by that? Well, the way they purchase most often, now this depends on the SMB. If you're talking more of like a mid-market customer, maybe they're using purchase orders. It depends. But the average SMB is going to break out a credit card, they'll swipe it and they'll purchase your software, and that's how they purchase. Now they want invoices. So sometimes you have to, provide that. But their purchasing behavior is very similar to consumer. Also, they love a hands-on approach. It's very, very hard for SMBs to kind of get great support. And if you can both provide great support while not killing yourself with those support costs, and if you can be authentic, because authenticity is very, very compelling. And that's really resonates with a lot of SMBs and let me tell you why that is. So for one thing, humans love authenticity just as it is, right? And at this point, we've gotten very used to kind of what Silicon Valley calls founder-led marketing these days. But really, it's a personal brand kind of leading products. And one of the best examples of how successful this can be, honestly, is Elon, right? Elon is out there all day and night marketing his products. In some ways, he is the brand in some ways. Well, in many ways, right? But it's very compelling. It's very authentic, right? And it's very compelling. And so if you can achieve that with your own marketing approach, SMBs, because the purchasing decisions are made usually by individuals, it's not a committee type situation. That type of marketing, it really kills in 2024. And, if you look at what we do at Stammer, that's exactly what we do as founder-led marketing. It's Ross out there talking about these things, and it's us just getting on calls with our customers and holding office hours. So that is absolutely a huge advantage. Maybe in many ways your biggest advantage. And that's actually exactly what Build in Public is all about. Create a personal brand, talk about the products you're building, be compelling, be authentic, give great support. So that overall is this approach I'm talking about. If you can't figure out an idea, consider just targeting a very successful enterprise product and then targeting a specific niche that you identify. Now, as always, like I said earlier, make sure you validate the idea first, but this is an excellent way to come up with an idea to bootstrap or to build as a small team.